was very much, we need one more player. Who can we use as a meat shield? Let's get Alex in. I use nerd all the time. I call myself a nerd. I think part of it is that I feel the culture has reclaimed geek. I feel like geek has become almost socially acceptable. Everyone's a geek now. But very few people are willing to admit to being nerds, so I am a nerd and I'm okay with that. I think we need to start working on taking nerd back.
That is madness. Like space camels?
Yes.
Like he literally went into space and then plopped down again.
Well, the suborbital camel is an option you can get for this game, but I don't have it yet.
He had a booster as well. I think that's wrong.
Aha! Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually like a little apprehensive about going to Games Day. I'd been to a couple of events and they were really cliquey and really competitive.
They just don't have the sharing camel type atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the games days here are pretty good in terms of that. Like the folks that show up, if they do have pre-existing groups, they show up here and they know they are going to be spread out all over the place and doing their own stuff. Like nobody comes to games days to do the same stuff they do in their own little groups kind of thing. Everybody comes together to try out different things and different people, and the little cliques are sort of eroded away in the
Usually.
wash of
There's
humanity.
always an extra game space
Unwash of humanity.
for an extra player somewhere anyway. So even if there are little cliques, there's always an extra player spot available. So you get in there.
I cured 6 diseases, saved 7 people from a fatal fire. We couldn't save the puppy. I settled 3 new lands and built 7 new towns. I had my dungeon ransacked by heroes. I learned a lot at Games Day. I made some new friends and viciously cast lightning bolts at the old ones. This is the story of how you too can have such mighty tales to tell. Ours begins one winter day with the wise wizard and head of PrairieCon committee, Alex.
Yeah, I normally don't have to do the setup because there are more guys. I get to do the girly stuff, like set up the canteen.
Games Day is like a mini PrairieCon with no set events. Everyone normally brings board games because they're easy to set up and there's not too much time invested in them. But there's also some scheduled and sanctioned role-playing games for the Pathfinder Society that takes place. You go to the con, if you don't have a game that you already want to play, then you just look around and see if anybody's setting something up and you ask to join if you're curious about the game they're playing. And that's how it goes. You can play 2, 3, 4, 5 games a day, depending on how short the games are. And you get to meet new people and interact.
Way back in the day, I was dating a guy who was involved with PrairieCon. Yeah, how cool am I? And he was involved with PrairieCon, and so I, as a gamer, I would sort of follow along. And I think because I was hanging out with them so much, I just got roped into part of the organizing. Back then, it was this tiny little thing run out of a guy's house. For a couple of months of the year, he would get a second phone number that people could call to register for PrairieCon, because this was before the internet. Then a couple of years ago, I got roped back in, and so far it's still going well. I totally credit the other people on the committee for my continued sanity. There is no way I would be smiling without their contributions. Right now, I've got that Call Me Maybe song stuck in my head because it was on the radio when I went to get candy bars. So I'm like...
How you doing?
Not too bad.
So what are you playing?
I don't know, I think I'm playing something upstairs, maybe. You're playing Pathfinder?
Pathfinder Society.
The Pathfinder Society,
Yeah, it's highbrow.
well, yeah, somebody's got to be highbrow in here. It's not going to be me.
A
So is
friend
this
of mine who was in a grade above us had mentioned it. It was Dungeons and Dragons, and we ended up playing it with him and thoroughly enjoyed it. So for a year or so, we would game every week almost.
So this is a pretty typical games day. The weather probably is a little bit to our detriment this year just because when it gets kind of snowy, people aren't willing to drive in from Winnipeg, which is understandable. But a games day is kind of like a mini event between major conventions just to keep interest so that people can get together and hang out because a lot of people don't see each other except at the cons. So it gives people an opportunity to socialize. We run them free so that, you know, anybody can come. We frequently have people bring their kids because it's a Saturday afternoon. And it's just another way to keep sort of the spirit going between the major conventions.
First started doing role-playing games probably when I was 12 or 13. My parents got me my brother and I the red box from TSR, and that was where we started. We didn't have any other friends who played them. It was just my brother would DM or I would DM, and one of us would have like 4 characters, and we'd play them through the adventure because we have to be super powerful and not die. Because, well, yeah, Red Book was like that. You died a lot.
Like over there, we've got Pendragon from Winnipeg, Garth. We've got collectibles. So they come and they will sell stuff to people who are here for the con. Do we charge them for this?
Yes, we do.
We charge them for this, and so they give us a little bit of money. That helps cover the cost of our venue because the game stays are free, so we don't charge participants. So we try to cover the cost with our canteen and people who come out to peddle their wares. The thing I like best about the games day is probably just the casual atmosphere. At the convention, there's a pace to it, right? There's a very strict slot schedule. We try to keep things running on time because if it runs overtime, that impacts everything down the road. But at a games day, you know, you just walk up to a bunch of people with a board game and you say, hey, who wants to play? So I like the casual atmosphere. It's just, I don't have to be quite as frantically running around. I'm getting older, so it's kind of nice to be able to have this sort of more relaxed pace.
So I was actually kind of surprised at how much bigger PrairieCon was than Games Day.
It's huge. It's like a once a year thing, and there's preparations going on all year for it.
Did you not read the pamphlet?
Yeah, advertising and tons and tons of different types of games, board games, role-playing games, card games, miniature games, the whole gambit. So
yeah, they filled up that gym pretty big.
It is quite the event.
Well, the gym and then also the general play area.
Yeah.
The specific rooms.
Little rooms, and glad all the fans were working this year. Just saying.
You sure are.
Yeah.
PrairieCon is like 3 games days duct taped together and on steroids. It attracts hundreds of people, takes place over 3 days, and happens every year in June. Multiple days allowed me to battle every last Space Marine, to save the Old West from the zombie scourge, and to drive back those blasted Nazis with a troop of hardy prairie soldiers.
Is that gonna? Yeah, that would be safer.
Except for my
Yep. Awesome. That went well. I didn't have a group of my own. I was the tag along with my 2 older brothers. They would have a couple of friends come over for the day. Somebody would not be able to make it because of work or whatever, and they'd need that extra person just to spread the damage around. And so they would let me play for the day. I never got to touch the rule books. I never really knew what was going on. You know, they never even really explained to me what the game was. We would just, you know, here, you get to play this elf. Roll this die. You hit, yay.
He is intentionally.
Yes, sort of.
Well, the wizard has got like 43 pages of stuff to look at.
Yes, there's lots
I
of
played the guy that swings the sword.
Lots of
I
stuff
played the
to
guy
look
that
at.
swings the
For
sword.
sure,
I played
for
the guy
sure.
that blows the fire.
I think the concept's very difficult with all the songs.
And then the other person who played it was just straight spellcasting. He used nothing but spells.
Oh, okay.
Freaking me out. Freaking me out.
Wait, no, didn't somebody? Oh no, you couldn't because you didn't.
Right, I cheated.
It's like the points don't matter and the rules are made up.
That's right. Just like PrairieCon.
That's like, now, come on. PrairieCon was I thought it was really well organized. I thought Alex and the
You
crew
would.
had a.
No, I'm just kidding. It actually was.
I thought Alex and the crew had it well under hand.
Did she threaten you again?
It was underhanded, all right.
Well, it's gone from paying to threatening me. So
Well, no, then whatever works. I mean,
it
was pretty smooth. Like we saw nothing on the surface that said anything bungled itself.
Yeah, nobody was on fire.
No
so it was
lit
okay.
skids.
There's no fires.
The long lines of yesteryear, frustratedly waiting for pre-registration didn't occur. And,
That was smooth. They had it all modernized with internet access.
I didn't see anything on fire.
No.
And I prefer all my fingers on my hands. So.
I think it was the tears of the gamers were putting out the flames.
Not
That's how it started.
tears.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
better that than the eye-watering stench.
Yeah, modern technology kind of is bringing it into the future and making it more efficient.
High tech
finally.
plus armpits.
I'm gonna guess 20. No, I'm gonna guess 8. No. 15. No.
Alex, our fearless leader of the PrairieCon committee, runs this show. This much danger and this much gaming requires a hands-on approach, and she isn't afraid to get into those trenches to get the job done.
Oh, it is. Now we're gonna get them all in the wrong order. 1, so 2. There. All right.
All right, where are we wandering off with these ones?
I have no idea. Ask Kevin.
Because if it does work, it will be too easy. It might even be evidence that there's a god.
Pigs that are Oh no! Seriously? Yeah. We did it backwards.
It had to be upside down and backwards.
We did it backwards. So now we're gonna do it again. Only this time we'll do it forwards. Oh no!
Never been referred to as the tall people.
We're taller than her.
Oh, okay.
It's all proportionate.
You're beside Alex. Everybody's tall.
I'm glad you.
Oh, how do I rip this now?
There you go.
Oh, no. Oh, stumbles at the end. Woohoo!
Do you know where is the house of Monsieur Beaumont? Zombie! Allez, allez!
I have a love-hate relationship with the zombie, and this was my first year as sort of the chair of the committee, so I kind of said there will be a zombie theme. It might have been an abuse of presidential power, but I'm okay with that.
Impeach Alex!
Sometimes we've had themes before, like a science fiction or a fantasy or whatever, but zombies are also ridiculously popular right now. I liked them before they were cool. Seriously.
Yes, Lisbeth. Zombie. The living dead. Look! Here they come!
This an illustration of a zombie that I worked really hard on. I spent 2 hours doing it, and then I was like, oh well, this has nothing to do with gaming, so I added a little board game with these silly running zombies, and everybody was like, oh, I love the little zombies on the board game. That took me 10 minutes. No, I didn't. I mean, I guess the guy in the middle is like running guy. Zombie Steve, maybe? I don't know. My first PrairieCon I ever went to, I was really nervous, so I took an extra shift at my work just so I wouldn't have to be there as long because I was scared that it would be really foreign and different. But I went into the intro to D&D and it was a ton of fun.
If you're a committee member getting a red shirt, if you're a volunteer or a GM getting a blue shirt, we have this awesome shirt station set up so you can come over and get your shirt when you're done. So these are the ones that are for sale, the ones that I'm super excited about. Nice sickly green. Adorable zombies. Are those not the most adorable zombies ever? I think they're adorable, but I could be biased.
How to be a ninja in 3 easy steps. Pull it over your head. Look through the eyes. And tie behind your head. You know, I'm opening my mouth, but it really doesn't matter.
For games, you have to go through the... Rob knows better than I do at this point.
We normally get somewhere really like close to 300. We had about 200 pre-registrations, which is pretty typical, you know. And then there'll be the people who'll come just for a day. This year we added much more programming on Friday. Normally we would just run Friday evening and Friday late night. But this year we added an afternoon slot on Friday because we're trying to extend the time that we run our auction. The auction is sort of one of the big draws at PrairieCon.
$10, anybody? $10? Going once? 13 back here. If you enjoyed the miniatures game, you'll probably like the board game too. It's 25 bucks. Mage Night? Yes? 30 bucks. Well, this must be a good game. It's 30 bucks. Indonesia? $30? Yes! $30 right here. Go through, so we're going to do it real fast. It's going to be quick and dirty. Put your hand down, and the last man or woman standing is going to get tired. Okay? So
The auction is where we have secondhand used games that we sell again. For the people who are here participating in the convention, they just bring their stuff in, we sell it back to them, and part of the proceeds we use to donate to local charities. So it's kind of a nice way for us to give back to the community while still providing a service for our gamers because they're looking for a way to get rid of some of their old games. They normally take that money and they go over to our vendor booths and buy more new stuff, so it's sort of win-win for everybody involved. They get to sell their games, our vendors get to sell some stuff, and we get to give back to the Brandon community as a whole. It gets kind of loud, it gets kind of crazy, it's long. It tends to be pretty long. Historically, we've run it over like an hour meal slot, and we end up needing all of our meal slots to do it. So this year we're trying something new. We actually created a longer dinner slot to hopefully get through all of it at once. We'll see how it goes. This is something new that we're trying, so I honestly have no clue how it'll go. This is an experience for us all.
first thing up for bid is Munchkin card game, the Cthulhu version with 7 expansions, and starting at 20 bucks. Can we give you 20 bucks? 7 expansions. Oh, we're off to a flying start. Okay, that was just a diversionary tactic. This is really Munchkin Cthulhu. And what's this got with it?
With the expansion.
With the expansion. It's a pretty light box, but it's only 10 bucks. 10 bucks, Munchkin Cthulhu? Nope, no takers. Oh, hold on. Yes, $10. Here, $11. Yep, $11, $12. $14 going once, going twice. Sold, 14 bucks. Good stuff. Oh, by the way, when you, well, that's the first item that actually sold, but when you get one that sells, come back here, line up this way, and this man will take your money.
I don't think anybody really takes home money from it. I think they just take home more games, but hey, that's what we're here for, right?
To you. Anyway, Cash and Guns is 10 bucks. This sounds like real cool fun. 15, 16, 17, 18.
Okay, yeah, on the other side over there is where we have our raffle. That we do primarily as a fundraiser for PrairieCon. We try to keep our ticket cost really low, and so part of keeping our ticket cost really low is encouraging people to buy tickets for our raffle. It gives us a little bit of a fundraiser, which we need to keep our ticket costs low. Like, we don't charge a lot for admission because we want it to be an open and accessible event. So this is one of the ways that we sort of subsidize the cost of admission.
Like everybody else, I had jobs and just hated them. So when you love what you do, it isn't like work. So you find something that you enjoy doing, and then yeah, you can work the rest of your life without actually working. So yeah, I managed to turn hobbies into businesses my whole life. We build and paint the terrain and the tables that people play on here. Everybody builds their own armies, but we like to build and paint the terrain that they play on, and we bring that out and have people play on that. So I used to build train sets when I was a kid, so this is just a more horrific version of that. It's enthusiasm for the hobby, so regardless if it's miniature games or card games or board games, if you have an enthusiasm for what you're selling, it will always do better for you. But for me, again, I love the building and painting. I don't try to talk Magic cards or Yu-Gi-Oh to anybody. I don't know how to play the game, so I just leave that for the guys across town.
I think they just got the PA system working. Sometimes fun is hard to do, like particularly for some of the committee members. We feel a real responsibility to make sure that the event goes off well, and so we put a higher priority on the convention going well than actually having fun, which is kind of too bad. So I don't think it's too much to ask for, but I would say that's sort of the key. Fun, make sure all of the participants have fun, make sure all of the sponsors have fun. And if everybody sort of walks away going, that was a great weekend, I don't care what happens behind the scenes, as long as the people who are here don't know it, really.
I got nothing in my teeth, right? I live in Winnipeg. I come out because it's an opportunity to meet with friends and people I've known for years and play more games. There's nothing really like this in all of Manitoba for a gaming convention. This is my daughter here, Sienna. I think she's just excited to come and see what we've been going to every year for the last few years that she's been left out of. So, but she plays games at home, so she's excited to play some new games.
Well, with a plum roll like that, I'm surprised they didn't just give you the whole pinata.
The rotten pinata.
Rotten pinata.
Yeah, rotten pinata is about right.
Cuban
Kelly,
crisis
you
pinata.
won something at PrairieCon this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I got all kinds of swaggy nagginess. It was good. For being one of the finalists in the Pathfinder tournament, I got a free mini of a dragon, which is awesome, and
what's his face painted those two?
Yeah, Rick P did that, and
is that your stealthy dragon?
Yeah, he was like this giant dragon.
Oh yeah. You were sort of the weird sort of evil Get Yankee bunch for that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
somebody
right.
Somebody was
yeah.
the ooze.
Lots of good stuff. Also got a couple books actually. They were handing them out, so that was nice.
Well, it serves me right for.
I don't know how you didn't get a prize, Patrick. I guess you're just not special.
No specialness for me.
So I guess the first part of this is opening the stuff to figure out what's what, because we get it shipped to a place in the U.S. Because more sponsors will support the convention if you have a U.S. mailing address, because it costs them less. The bonus for us is also that it doesn't have to go through customs, so while we might have to pay duty at the border, we don't have to wait potentially extra weeks for stuff to go through customs, so that's kind of nice. I'm so going to tip this whole table. Pile of things. Okay, this is exciting. This is a game called Dice and Glory. They supported us a couple of years ago, but this year they let us put our art on the cover, which, I mean, how cool is that? It's primarily a fantasy role-playing system. Really great company, very easy to work with, and they put our art on the cover. So, and the thing I like about it is that this has our zombie dude, and so while the T-shirts have that nice little strip of zombies, this has the zombie from the poster. So, it kind of a little bit of extra advertising for the convention, which I thought was really cool.
It was neat to see how that played out.
So, yeah, the short version, reasonably pleased. Things worked out as if I wasn't panicking last minute and cobbling stuff together at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it was a really good con. I think it was definitely top 5, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, for me. Everything was so smooth, and there were so many choices this year.
I'm just glad I lived. No one got rabies.
Survival is important.
And there's nothing that happened to me that I can't wash off.
Yeah. But it all turned out in the end. I became president. So that's all that matters.
We're doomed.
The best moments, I suppose, comes at the end of the game, where you sit back and go, wow, and you talk about what happened in the game, and it's the talking afterwards. It's the friendships and the relationships with people that is the fun part, and talking about the games and what happened. And years later, you still talk about those crazy moments.
I think we would absolutely call it a success. the number of people who have come up and thanked me is astounding. I never expect that kind of thing because we'd be doing it anyway, but they come up and they say thank you for doing such an awesome job, and ultimately I think that's what you want. As long as the people who are here have a good time and get the enjoyment out of it, how can you call it anything but an unmitigated success? The rest of the committee thanked me for stepping into the position of chair by giving me a board game that I totally, really crazy wanted. So that was really quite exciting. And then I got to play a game in the final slot. One of those, okay, this is going to make me look really old, but one of those old games with a VHS tape where there's somebody on the screen who just will start talking at you and telling you what to do, and you're sort of racing the clock. And so it just took me back to when I was like 15, and it was awesome. It's the community, right? Having these people who are passionate and dedicated to it, and having, like, the teardown in the gym took 10 minutes because this small army of people who were just finishing up their games, they packed up their boards and then they started packing up chairs and tables, you know, pretty much unasked. It's just, that's why you do it. Yeah.
Never go bigger than space, though. What do you go, like universe zombies,
Bigger
and then
than space.
what do you go for?
That's
universe?
as big as it gets.
Yeah, right?
Cosmic,
I think.
space.
Oh, if you've got a tiny little three-dimensional line.
Tesseract.
Oh, we gotta go
Ooh,
4-dimensional.
It's
here.
getting quantum on us.
Damn straight.
Multi-dimensional zombies, then, and then
Multi-dimensional zombies.
Captain String Theory over there.
Quantum strings and zombies.
That's one of my least favorite comic book characters.
What's that?
yeah, actually, I hear that's next year's is actually
Is comic book stuff?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So,
I could get into that.
Year
Yeah,
of the superhero,
maybe.
they're saying.
Hmm.
Haven't you read the pamphlet?
Yeah.
actually, that gives me a great idea for maybe next year we could all like dress up or something. You know, we could call one like really tight, like leotards.
What are we, cosplay?
Mike, you look pretty good in a leotard, don't you think?
Tell you what, you dress up, we'll meet you there.
And now I've lost my train of thought. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gone.